they're just speculating that they actually are they actually migrated east, but that's really inconclusive. It's just like with their languages. They've found tablets and scripts that show their writing, but linguistics and archaeologists and all of these cool people who do the research there to try to figure out languages have yet been able to read what they're saying. So I brought this up in the last episode where with the Sumerians, they have this language that is separate from all of the languages that we have today, which means our languages don't connect to the Sumerians, and they're not connected to any languages within that region. It was like it just sprung up and then disappeared without an origin and without, growing on to other languages, which to me is kind of odd. But then we come along to the Indus Valley, and we learn of this civilization who has a writing system, which and let me distinguish this. There is a difference between a writing system and a language. A language is what comes out of your mouth, the spoken word, and then there's the writing system. So they have this writing system that they can't interpret. They can't find out, okay, this is what this is saying, and this is what this is saying. And I believe they're coming along, but they haven't got it done well enough to where this language can be interpreted properly. So at least that's what my take is of it. I do enjoy doing the research and finding out about this stuff, but I think my slideshow stopped running. Let me go, wait a minute. So that is something that really stuck out to me. It shouldn't have ended, but it did, didn't it? Yes, it did. I am going to go ahead and just put my image back up. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't think that it was going to end like it did, but it did. Now these images, I also want to point out, are images that were given to me by Mr. Robot on Minds.com, so I'm going to give kudos to Mr. Robot. These are very good images. I turned around and made slideshows for him, and I ended up sending him copies of those so that he could have them if he wants to use them. He did a really good job. So I ended up, okay, so let me get back to what I was talking about with the Indus Valley. Now, like I said, it's actually a mystery when it comes to this civilization. And I also said in the last episode that this civilization was unique because when they went in to do archaeological research on this place, they didn't find any kind of evidence that there was battles that had taken place, that any of their frickin' villages or their cities had fallen victim of a frickin' attack. So there was no signs of war or violence or anything whatsoever, and that right there by itself is pretty unique because I don't think there's any other civilization or culture out there that has ever had this happen, and this is the only place that I've ever heard of where these findings have been found, and it seems pretty amazing to me if you ask me, because of the region. This is the region that spawned the beliefs of Hinduism, Buddhism. You have also the black sheep of the family that everybody seems to forget, which is the Zoroastrians, and you could call him the brother of Hinduism or Buddha, or the brother of Buddhism, really. So you had these three cultures, and then you can't forget the Bon. They were all there. And also, when you look into those religions, there's strong connections to the Indo-Europeans and their belief systems. And there's also mention of Buddhism being influenced by Alexander the Great when he came in. But there's one thing that really stuck out to me with all of this. Like, this region, the valley where it's located at, would have been the exact place where Genghis Khan would have came to the borders of India. And that story is really amazing, because if you do research and you find out about Genghis Khan, Genghis Khan was a conqueror, and he ruled over the Golden Horde, and they went from one region to another, just conquering one village after the other, and that was what they were into. But when they reached the borders of India, in this area somewhere, Genghis Khan decided not to venture further. He turned away and went the other direction. He didn't even try to conquer India. And that would have placed him somewhere in this area, and I find that as kind of strange when it comes to that. And then you look at the Indus civilization, where there's no evidence of any kind of destruction, any kind of war, and things of that nature. So that kind of stuck out to me whenever I was doing my research. It was like a snap of the finger. It dawned on me, So I did want to bring that up and bring it into play. That probably doesn't really span over the original talking points that we were talking about, because Sherry had mentioned the shape of a dragon being in the terrain around the Grand Canyon, but and like I said, with the stuff that we were discussing, you make your own decision if you think that's true or not. The thing that I do know is there's always been a connection between the serpent and the bird, and these talking points that I have kind of goes into all that. And I also mentioned that this civilization, there's no evidence to prove they all just migrated into India. They could have been dispersed into different parts of the world, and this would be a good chance to kind of go over some of the stuff that we're discussing here, because it's really is a complex situation. So now, although over 1,000 mature Harappan sites have been reported and nearly 100 excavated, there are 5 major urban centers. That's Mohenjo-Daro in the lower Indus Valley, Harappa in the western Punjab region. Then there's Ganerawala in the Cholistan Desert. Then there's the Dhalavira in the western Gujarat, and Rakagari in Haryana. Now, the Harappan language is not directly attested, and its affiliations are uncertain, as the Indus script has remained undeciphered. So that goes into what I was talking about. It's not deciphered, and they can't, or their affiliations are uncertain. Now, there are a lot of different languages that people know do come out of that region, but this right here, there's no affiliations to them. You know what I mean? And because they can't figure out the language, they can't figure out the writings on them. So a relationship with the Dravidian or Ilamo-Dravidian language family is favored to a section of scholars, but like I said, don't just make a blanket statement and say that just because these people say Dravidian, it's a part of the Dravidian language, because that's not founded. Okay. Now the Indus civilization is named after the Indus River system, and it has alluvial plains, and it's the earlier sites of the civilization that was actually identified and excavated. So that is the whole tradition behind that, like I was saying a little while ago. Now, following a tradition of archaeology, the civilization is sometimes referred to as the Harappan, after its type site Harappa, the first site to be excavated. This is notably true of usage employed by the Archaeological Survey of India after India's independence in 1947. The term Gagar Hakra figures permanently in modern labels applied to the Indus civilization, on account of a good number of sites having been found along the Gagar Hakra River in northwest India, in eastern Saraswati, in India and eastern Pakistan. The term Indus Sarasvati civilization and Sindhu Saraswati civilization have also been employed in the literature by supporters of indigenous Aryanism. Now this is kind of what I was talking about, indigenous Aryanism. Okay, now India has a national movement that's going on right now where they are wanting to find scientific evidence that proves their culture and their beliefs and their religions all originated within India and not from outside sources. That's what they're talking about when they say indigenous Aryanism. After a positive identification of Gagar Hakra with the river Saravati described in the earlier chapters of the Rigveda, a collection of hymns in archaic Sanskrit composed of in the 2nd millennium BC, which are unrelated to the mature phase of the Indus Valley civilization. So these writings are supposedly not related to the mature phase of the Indus Valley civilization.